Donald Trump and his administration have been talking out of both sides of their mouth about the $1.8 billion slush fund for insurrectionists. First, Trump's acting attorney general and personal attorney was saying this to Congress.
We are not moving forward with the fund, period.
Not moving forward ever?
Correct.
Oh, there's no more fund then. Is there any way that you could put this in writing?
I'm not committing to putting anything in writing. I'm going to say it today over and over again. I mean, I don't know what the purpose of putting something in writing. I'm telling you what we're doing.
Oh, yeah. What is the purpose of putting something in writing, right? You ever buy a house just on someone's word? Just take my word for it. Todd Blanche. Well, why should he put it in writing? DOJ lawyers have also been telling the courts, don't worry about it. It's dead. But the president disagrees.
Me, personally, I think the weaponization fund is a great idea, and so do many other Republicans. You have to get it approved. If they get it approved, that's great. If they don't get it approved, I'd be disappointed.
Yesterday, a report in The Atlantic confirming that, quote, Trump isn't giving up on his slush fund, that behind the scenes, Justice Department and other Trump administration officials have quietly assured allies that plans for some form of payout remain on track. Well, today, a federal judge referred to the mixed messages about the scheme in ordering the DOJ to declare in writing, Mr. Blanche, that the fund is dead once and for all, and for it to be signed by both Todd Blanche and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Without that written declaration, federal judge Leonie Brinkema said, we just don't have the absolute certainty this fund won't rear its head in another form. Congressman Joe Neguse is Democrat of Colorado. He's assistant Democratic leader, a member of the Judiciary Committee. It's nice to have you here in person.
Great to be here.
Well, what do you make of the reticence to put it in writing and the Atlantic reporting that they're sending signals to people that might be the beneficiaries that we're going to try to work something out?
Chris, well, first, great to be here. It is all so outlandish, it's hard to kind of conjure the right words to describe it. And I also think it's important to put this in historical context. This is the most corrupt presidential administration in the history of the country, bar none. One has to go back maybe to the Teapot Dome scandal a century ago to find a cabinet and an administration that is more immersed in corruption than this one. And I think this president is myopically focused on enriching himself and his family. And part of what is being lost in the context of this weaponization fund, this slush fund, is the origin of the fund. The impetus was his $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS that he controls. That part of it has kind of been lost in this conversation. I am grateful that the federal judge issued the order that it did earlier today, the court in Virginia. But obviously the Congress is going to have to step in to provide some perpetual, permanent blocking of this fund from ever materialized.
Yeah, just to stay on that for a second, you mentioned Teapot Dome, and I might be recalling this incorrectly, but I was reading the other day that the money at issue at Teapot Dome, which had to do with sort of contracts, right?
That's right.
That at issue was about $10 million in inflation-adjusted terms.
Correct.
In today's dollars.
Correct.
That was the biggest scandal
right.
of its time. In terms of Congress, what did it say to you? This happened in the other House from the one that you serve in, but it was very interesting to me the way they engineered those votes you saw in the reconciliation bill.
Of course.
They created these sort of fake amendments that they gave enough cover to their frontline members to vote against the fund. But you will note they could have just killed the fund in that actions, and they did not.
Well, that's precisely right. I mean, first, I give a lot of credit to the Senate Democrats who fought vociferously. Senator Michael Bennet introduced an amendment to try to kill this weaponization fund. But as you said, a number of Republicans had engineered an outcome by which a few of their more vulnerable members,
yes.
Senator from Ohio, Senator from Alaska, Senator from Maine, were able to vote against keeping the fund.
Even the new senator from Florida, who no one thinks has a tough race, but is on the ballot.
That's right, Senator Moody, which tells you that they recognize this is deeply problematic, deeply unpopular. And of course, that should be intuitive, that perhaps giving taxpayer money to people who attacked police officers on January 6th would not be the most politically popular policy for Republicans to be pursuing. And yet here we are. So absent them ultimately showing some backbone and not capitulating to the president, I don't think that it's enough to rely on this court order in the federal district court in Virginia.
Right. And they might do something else other than the fund. This is a CNN reporting. The Justice Department has a probe about folks that got debanked after January 6th, and they've been communicating they're going to try to somehow use that probe.
Correct.
To engineer some to compensate the people. I asked Jenna Griswold this in the last block, and I want to ask you too. What does it mean that you have the members of the leadership in the House running with what is the big lie line from Donald Trump about this California election. Like, let me play Mike Johnson for you, get your response. Take a listen.
I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm saying it stinks to high heaven, and everybody knows that. Some of these efforts are so diabolical and so far upstream that it's impossible to prove. But I think everybody knows instinctively something is wrong here.
What does that do?
Well, first and foremost, I think it should shock the conscience of every American that the extremism has metastasized to such a degree in the Republican Party that now the Speaker of the House, third in line to the presidency, is spewing off these ridiculous mistruths. I also would say that it is important for us to be clear-eyed, that I believe this is a Republican majority that will do everything it can to prevent a free and fair election, and will take steps to ensure that that's not the case, that ultimately we don't have a free and fair election. So we're going to be vigilant. Ranking Member Morelli, who you've had on this program previously, Ranking Member Raskin, it's all hands on deck to do everything we can to ensure that there is a free and fair election this November. And I have every expectation that as long as the Article 3 branch of our government, the judiciary, continues to play the vital role that it has played, that will be the case.
Where are you on the sort of concern-hope spectrum on this? I mean, because one of the things that I wrestle with in trying to be clear-eyed about characterizing what's happening and reporting on it is they are going to try everything they can. They have already produced a situation through this completely unprecedented power grab through the mid-decade, gerrymanders, where they've given themselves this little cushion, right? They've moved the median district in the direction of Republicans. Democrats have to win by a larger margin just to get to even. Mm-hmm. It's also the case that, they're staring down what looks like a building electoral tsunami.
Correct.
And I don't want people to think that they're going to necessarily be able to pull it off. How do you think about that?
I mean, look, I, like you, Chris, and I suspect like so many of your viewers, I struggle with this internally myself. But at the end of the day, I am reminded that our country has been through incredible existential challenges in the past, and we've always risen to the occasion. I am someone, as you know, who was on the floor on January 6th, who saw very much up close our democracy on the brink. I also was there at 3 a.m. in the morning when we certified the election. Mm-hmm. And so I, if I had to pick a place on that spectrum, I lean towards the side of hope. I don't want to be Pollyannish about it. Yeah. It does not mean that this is some, kind of nebulous hope. It is a hope that requires us to work for it.
And vigilance.
And vigilance. That's right. Over the course of the next 4 months.
You're on the record on this, but I want to ask you here because you're also a Colorado Democrat. I asked Jennifer Griswold about the clemency granted to Tina Peters. What's your view of that decision?
Yeah, obviously, I share the views of so many Democrats in the state who vehemently disagree with that decision. And
what?
I don't think that's a surprise to you. And
I should have. I'll have the governor on if he wants to come on and talk about it. Honestly, I extend the offer. I just don't get it. I truly don't. I get it at one level. Let me say this. I'm a person who, I'm not sure anyone older than 70 should be in prison. Frankly, if you want my views on this, there are too many elderly folks in prison. Full stop. This is a thing I truly believe. If you were going to grant clemency in this case, really, what is going on here?
I mean, look, I'm not one that would be able to explain his rationale. You should have him on the program. What I would say is that what you saw with respect to Mike Johnson's answer, that clip that you just played, is consistent with the same type of lies that Tina Peters and so many others have been trafficking in for the better part of the last 6 years. And we ought to be really, as I said, serious and clear-eyed about the threat come this November.
All right. Congressman Joe Granuvas, you somehow look younger in person, I got to say.
It's good to see you, Chris.
It's really nice to have you
Always.
Here. Come back anytime. All right.